forgot to turn on the mic. Now you can hear me. I was saying hello people, how's everyone doing? Welcome to another show of Lair. Today is episode number 12, I believe. Hope everyone's doing alright today in London. For those of you that didn't watch the previous episode but watched two episodes before, probably you know or knew at that time that I was in Portugal. Not anymore. I'm back in London. And the weather today is a very London-like weather. It's not pleasant at all, given the fact that we are in July. You know, you would expect a little bit of sun at least, but not today. So it's a bit depressing. Not raining though, so the English summer rain didn't arrive here yet. So we'll see if that happens or not. I hope not, because this is already depressing the way it is. So I'm okay with the way it is for now. How's everyone doing? Hope everyone's doing okay today, this Friday. And as usual, I just want to say thank you to everyone that keeps sending messages, congratulating the show, and giving ideas and suggestions and asking questions, all that stuff. Keep doing that. That's exactly what I want from the show. Otherwise, there won't be any reason for the show to happen, really, if there wasn't interaction, especially on a live fashion, right? On a live fashion, you expect that this kind of interaction happens even more. So thank you, everyone, once again for that. And actually, regarding this interaction that I'm talking about, and the fact that, you know, this is now the 12th episode, a cool thing happened this a few days ago, actually, because the show was mentioned on the previous Foundry webinar when they announced the Nuke Indie version. That was their special announcement. We're gonna cover that in a while, briefly. Otherwise, that will be another show just to cover that topic. But we're gonna cover it nevertheless. But yeah, so I just wanted to publicly say thank you to Jennifer Goldfinch for mentioning the show. Thank you for your words, Jennifer, once again. And there was also something, I think it was actually today, there was a guy that our previous guest, Matt's, mentioned, which I want to try to say his name right? It's Lars Wemje, I believe I'm right. And he just reached out today, congratulating the show. So thank you, Lars, for doing that. And he actually said something funny, which was that this show, or he said, you're kind of the Joe Rogan's compositing show or something like that. That was not my reference, to be honest with you. Rarely I watch his show, but I know who he is, of course, but it was a nice compliment. So thank you once again, Lars. It would be great if you could join us once, one of these days here on the show. That would be great. By the way, just to mention, for those of you who don't know who Lars is, Lars was mentioned by Maz, as I said previously, and he was actually the one giving Maz some help on the icons of his point render tool. And he has his YouTube channel called Love VFX, and in there you can watch some of the, I would say, breakdowns. I don't know if that's how he wants to call it, breakdowns of some Nukepedia tools. So check his channel, because there's all these good things there. So you should check that out. I don't know what's happening with me today. Might be the weather. Anyway. So pandemic update as usual as well. So as I said last week, apparently the government here wants to ease more and more the measures in terms of the lockdown for workplaces and transportation. I don't know when that will be effective, to be honest. I really don't know, but that's what what was announced last week. And from today, masks are mandatory in closed spaces across the UK. I think that's a very good thing. In my opinion, should have been happening since I wouldn't say the beginning, because there were some problems overall, and nobody knew exactly how to tackle this thing. But it's a good thing that that it's now mandatory. As I said also previously last week, in Lisbon, where I was just a few weeks ago, everybody, that's the norm, and nobody questions that. You know what I mean? If you don't have a mask, you don't go inside the shop, and that's it. And you don't even expect that the police officer will come in to say whether or not you should wear a mask. You know that you know, if you don't have one, you won't get in. And in here already, I think I read this today, that some of these big surfaces, in like shops, say Hasda and Sainsbury's, I think I read specifically those two, they say that they will not enforce this, I would say, law. I'm not sure if it's really a law, but they won't enforce this. So I don't really get, I understand that it's not their responsibility since this is a government measure, but at the same time, this is about everyone's health. So I don't really get this this attitude, to be honest with you. And again, this is one of the biggest differences that I find, or I found. Now apparently it's going to be different when I came from Portugal, from Lisbon specifically. With that said, and I'm going to repeat myself because I don't want to put Lisbon on a pedestal. There's no countries, any country on a pedestal. I'm just referring Lisbon because I came from there. That's the only reason. Okay. Yeah, and that's it. So we'll see how this goes for the masks being mandatory now. What else? Well, unfortunately, more and more we see more people becoming available on LinkedIn, posting their show reels, you know, saying, you know, very loud and clear that they are available. Not only in our industry, of course I'm talking more about our industry, but this happens across every industry, I guess. So yeah, things are not looking good, and the reason why this is happening more here is because we had something, for those of you that are watching in a different country, we had something here which was a government help called furlough, in which the government would pay up to 80%, capped to a certain value, to a certain number, the people's wages. So of course this was like very welcome from every company, but from the end of August the rules changed. So now from August, even though this measure, this help, will still continue until the end of October, I believe, but the rules will change. So from the end of October, August, the companies are now required to pay something, and they will be required to pay increasingly more until the end of this scheme. So because this is now changing, and companies are now required to you know, to actually pay something to their employees now, that's the reason why we see more and more people becoming available. Other countries, they didn't have this help, and because of that, and I'm speculating a little bit here, I'm not entirely sure if that's the reason, even though I've been speaking with some friends of mine that are in different countries, but they didn't have this help, but at the same time they are not facing the same problems. So, you know, there's good and bad with helps like this. Of course, every help in a situation like this, which is unheard of, really, it's always welcome. But at the same time, you know, if companies are just relying on this because that's the only way that they can survive, then when this is over, you know, you know, I mean, it's kind of a messy situation, really. So it is what it is, I guess. And to prove what I'm saying, I also read, I think it was maybe a couple of days ago, that Star Wars films and Avatar sequels are being pushed back a year. So, you know, this is like another demonstration why I'm saying what I'm saying and what I've been saying so far. I'm not an oracle or anything like that. I don't have more information than anyone, really. But this unfortunately proves the fact that I don't think that a lot of things will dramatically change until the end of the year. Although some companies are already being really open on hiring people that are not in the country in which the company has offices, which is great. So people can now work from home. And I also said here in the beginning that I think this will more and more happen because, you know, this door has been opened. So I don't think that will be closed very easily. But, you know, it's great to see that that companies are keep doing this more often. But from what I can say, it's short-term contracts. It's to finish what they have at the moment, and very rarely we see companies, at least from my experience, hiring like long-term jobs because, you know, they're not there basically. One of our viewers from Discord. Before we get into that, because I was about to talk about the tech highlight of the week, that is not going to be tech highlights, but I want to see everyone here. How's everyone doing? Happy Friday, yeah, cool. Let's see if I see some names that rings the bell. Yeah, usual suspects are always here, so welcome everyone. One of our viewers, I'm not sure if he or she he's here today, but asked me to talk about some books, and this person actually said sometimes you refer. I don't remember that I've referred any books, but in any case, I'm gonna show some of the books. But I'll be completely honest with you, I don't read that many books about VFX. I have other ways of learning, but and part of the ways I learn better with videos, for example. And I'll if you're looking for inspiration, yes, I'll go and write, and not write, but I'll go and read some books, especially about like those big productions that were done in the past and all that stuff. I like to read those, and I get inspiration from that. But technically speaking, sometimes I do it, but it's not my preferred way. So I'm not really sure if I ever mention a book here on the show, but in any case, I'm going to mention, I think I selected 5 of them that I read them, but it's not something that I do like all the time. Anyway, let me try to show you what I mean. So first one, it's going to be this one here, Masters of FX. So this one, I just mentioned just now that sometimes I go and like to read, you know, how some productions were done, especially the big ones. And this is all about that. This is all about productions. Some of them more recent, as we can see here. The cover is about Avatar. Some others more ancient. I think there's something here about Terminator 2, if I'm not mistaken. But in any case, this is like a short version of how they did the production regarding VFX and some of the challenges. So this is a good one. Another one, this one here, Understanding Exposure. I had this book actually, even though I just said that I don't read that many books, and I don't. I stand by what I said. But there was a time in which I was really interested in exploring more exposure and what makes a shot looking great. And actually, a lot of years ago, I had this book on my desk, like every day. Just, you know, when I was waiting for renders, or when I was doing something else, like as a waiting time, I would read this book a little bit by bit. But this is also a good one. Another one. This one, I had this also on my desk, even though I wouldn't go as often to this one, even though I should be saying the other way around. But this is a very technical book, which I think all VFX professionals should have, because sometimes there is a need to you know, consult some things regarding what we do every day. So this is a good one to have. It's called a handbook, but this is like it's a massive book like that. Yeah, there's basically, as the book cover says, industry standard VFX practices and procedures. So it's handy to have. but you can, if you don't need to go that technical, I mean, there are other resources that probably will be more easy to digest, but in any case, this should be a mandatory book for you to have as a VFX professional anyway. Next one up, it's this one here. This is more towards what we do every day. If you have like a doubt on how to do you know, a certain technique, or how a certain node works, or some, you know, things like this. Of course, there's always the very good you know, documentation that Nuke has, and very often, even to this day, I go there because it's you know, the documentation that Nuke has now. And you know, that thing that you can press in any node, the question mark, directs you to, in most cases, a very, you know, succinct but very effective kind of explanation about how to the node works. But this one expand that content a little bit more. So, and the last one is this one here. Which is a very interesting book. I actually offered this book to my brother a few years ago, and I never read it. Well, I read it before I offered this to him, and from my memory, it's very interesting. I shouldn't be saying this for my memory because. But anyway, but that's what happened. That's what happened. But from what I can remember, in all seriousness, it's a very detailed kind of thing. And actually, even though I'm not like one of like the biggest Star Wars fans or anything like that, but what I like more about Star Wars, it's this. It's in an age in which the technology was not there in the way that it is today. What I'm more interested in the solutions that they came across or they invented to put the effects that we see every day, regardless, you know, they look good or they look bad. Of course, you have to look at the effects from the standpoint of what was the time in which they were done. But regardless whether or not you want to consider that, regardless whether or not they look good to, you know, what you think, it's more about the solutions. And very often, and I think I've said this here as well, I try to think about techniques in the most simplistic way, and this is my go-to approach to compositing, which is, yes, we have the technology, but how would you make something if you wouldn't have, you know, a 3D projector, that you don't even question how a real projector works. So this kind of approach, like how you actually do something physically speaking, this is what I'm really interested in, and this book tells all about those techniques that they come across at that time. So this is a very good one, and this completes my list for today, I guess. Probably most of you like know these books, at least some of them. But in any case, I hope I answered your question. I can't remember your name, the person who asked me the suggestion, so I'm sorry about that. And we have to talk, even though it's going to be briefly, but we have to talk a bit what happened this week in terms of the new release from Nuke, which is Nuke Indie. There was a lot of pushbacks in terms of some of the limitations. I don't want to extend this topic that much because, you know, this will be like 1 hour at least just to discuss this, and we wouldn't get to any conclusion, I don't think, because some people, you know, think that the limitations are very severe. Some others probably think that they're not, for the price point that they put the software. But in any case, if you would like to share your thoughts, please do it, because this is the time now. I think it was Lars who asked me to, not asked me, but suggested that we would talk about this. My take on it, while you write your thoughts if you want, my take on it is that I think, in all honesty, I understand that they have to come up with a price tag that has some limitations, otherwise it would be the same version, of course. But from what I read, and I'll be honest, I didn't read all the specifications about this new version, But what I read, from what I read, I mean, the fact that there's two like big letdowns, I believe, which is the fact that there's Python limitations. I think this is a, I mean, why? It's my question. Why do you want to put Python limitations? A lot of us, and especially due to the fact that, in my opinion, this is not in my opinion, that's exactly how they are promoting this version, is for you know, a price point that would help you know, independent artists and professionals in what we do. And because of that, we have to, if you're working as a freelancer, we have to come up with very fast solutions, because normally the time is always running out. So we don't have the luxury. I'm saying we, but I'm not a freelancer. But the people who work as a freelancer don't have the luxury of time in most of the situations. So they have to rely on tools that probably they developed to you know, to make the job quicker. And the fact that this has some Python limitations, this will limit the workflow in that way. So I think Foundry, in my opinion, probably missed the point here. I don't know. I think that for me, that was the biggest like eyebrow kind of a situation or moment, and I think they missed the point a bit, in my opinion. Another thing is the fact that it doesn't support any plugins, from what I read, which, you know, is it like the biggest letdown? No, but I think, what's the reason? Again, it's why. You know, I mean, there are plugins at this point. I'm not a big user of plugins, I'll be honest, and I already mentioned this here many times, and I stand by what I said, and I have already explained the reasons why. But there are some plugins that are now part of everyone's job. For example, the denoise, and again, I don't want to delve too much about like what's the alternatives of denoises. I think there's a lot of other alternatives, but people are relying on those tools. So I think that's a bit of a letdown as well. And for example, lens flares, everybody uses lens flares as a plugin because they look good. It's an external application, so the fact that they cannot have that, it's kind of a bummer, I would say. But yeah. So let's see what people have to say. But those are the two things that I've seen that I think they are the biggest letdowns, in my opinion. I'm not too bothered, for example, with the fact that they have their own extension and it's encrypted. I don't think that's a big, you know, a big problem, because as long as you work with the same version, you'll be able to open different projects. You just cannot open from Nuke Indie into a Nuke standard version, which I'm okay with that. But that's my take on it. But those two things, I think, there are a big letdown, especially because the way they are marketing it and the way that they are putting this to, you know, in terms of they want to help independent professionals. I get that point. That's great. It's a step in the right direction. But if you're limiting those two things, I mean, it's kind of contradicts a little bit of the main or the initial purpose or premise of the release, I would say. But again, I haven't used it yet, so don't take my word for it. I think we all have to experience that a bit to see how it works and if it's exactly how I'm saying. Let's see what people are saying. So, don't love the black box of not being able to save .nk. Yeah. Again, in my opinion, I'm not too bothered by that, because you'll be able to, from my understanding, you'll be able to open projects still, even though, as long as you work on the same Indie version. So I think that's okay. My opinion, of course, this is all personal opinions. It's a step in the right direction. Cool, good to know. What else? 1 step forward, 10 steps, 10 steps backwards. Yeah. Maybe kind of a bit of exaggeration, but anyway. Nuke Studio for 500 per year, that's still a great deal, and Indie is just starting. Exactly. I was about to say that. So this is the first release of Indie. From what I could see on the webinar, a lot of people were complaining for the reasons I'm explaining, complaining or voicing their concerns about a release like that. But we'll see what it's just the beginning, exactly. So we'll see what happens in the future for this type of release. I think definitely is a step in the right direction, and I think great things will come out of it. But it's kind of a game changer at the moment, and because of that, everything is so new. So you know, patience, I would say. We have to be a little bit more patient. So now let's talk about the tech challenge that I laid out last week. We have a winner. Yeah, we have a winner, and today it's going to be all about that. So I've promised that the winner would come on the show with me at some point, and the point, well, the at some point, it's actually next week, so which is today. So let me just open that segment again and show what I laid out for everyone to participate last week, and we're gonna talk about that in just a second. Let me check if everything's okay. I think it's cool. All right, let's open the tech challenge now. Okay, so for those of you that that didn't see the last episode, this is and was the challenge that I've put for everyone to participate. So people would have to create something similar with any geo. I just choose a cube because, you know, random choice. Let me just put my face here so you can see me a bit better. But yeah, so the premise of the challenge was from any geo, whether it's geo created inside Nuke or outside, but from any geo, how can you do some kind of fake subsurfacey kind of or fog or whatever you want to call it, because this can look like a fog, and we're going to talk about that in just a while. But out of that, how can we create something like this? And I said that the refraction, the light refraction, would be optional. This is just some sprinkling on the top, and you would have to be able to put a light inside the cube. And I didn't mention interaction with the light, but the people who participated put some interaction, which is great to see. So you put the extra mile, which it's always something very good. And the winner I've picked, it's the person who reached to a very similar result first. And let's see our winner here. So this is what he came up with. It's a he. I just revealed this right now. So let me just loop that again. So yeah, so this is our winner, and let's call him. What do you say? Let's call him. Let me just prep everything just to see if everything's okay. Okay, let me just open this thing. Let's see if he's ready. I think he is. We'll see if he's or not. All right, guys, let's call our guest, which is the winner of our challenge, our very first challenge actually of our tech challenge from Lair. Let's call our guest now. Mauricio de Oliveira.
Yeah, hello there.
hello. So Mauricio, thank you for participating on the challenge. It's great to see that people are engaging with the show. That was the actual premise of the challenge of you know, that segment anyway. So you were pretty fast to respond. So thank you for that. I just want to, before we talk with each other a bit more about you and about the challenge, I just wanted to give some shout out to the other participants like Amaru, Sabine, and also and especially Chris Charlton, that worked on the solution until the very late hours in the night, until I think 2 a.m.
Yeah.
So we'll try to bring you one of these days here with us, Chris, anyway. All right, but we had to pick a winner, and I picked the right winner for the reasons that I already laid out. And the winner is Mauricio Oliveira. So I think we should, you know what? Why don't we put some clapping here? Let's see if I can. I can't. Yeah, I can. There you go. I should have done this from the beginning. Anyway, so Mauricio was the winner. Winner. So Mauricio is actually a Brazilian guy. So we actually speak our you know, our language is the same basically. And let's see what people has to say. But we are speaking Portuguese, of course, for everyone to understand. But for those of you that don't know, Portuguese and Brazilian are actually the same language. It's actually Portuguese with a different accent. The same kind of difference between American and English from England, for example,
British.
Or British, exactly. But anyway, before we talk about more about you, do you want to present yourself to everyone, Mauricio?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess nobody knows me. So yeah, I'm Mauricio de Oliveira. I'm a digital compositor, and for the last 3 years now, I've been working at Mechavision, based here in Stuttgart, in Germany. Yeah.
Cool. All right. That was a very short version of who you are.
I can go further than that.
No, yeah. No, we'll talk about it. It's good that you do it like this, so we can have a little bit more, you know, room to talk about more about your journey, because you had an interesting journey, and I want to explore that with you. But before we get into that, we have to. Oh, you're frozen. Oh, come on. No, you're back.
All right.
Okay, cool. But before we get into that, of course, we have to explore the solution, because that's the only thing that it's fair, right? So let me just put an automatic switcher here for the chat. Not for the chat, for Nuke. Let's see if you guys can see Nuke. I believe you can. All right, so let me see, guys. You can see Nuke, yeah? Yeah, you can. Okay, so I'm gonna show you my version of it, and actually, I would say surprisingly, but maybe it's not a surprise, but actually Mauricio's solution is actually similar to mine. But anyway, so here's what I did. So I've created a cube, a standard cube, 0, 0, 0 in terms of placement in our world, and I just put some expression just to rotate it. This is kind of optional, of course, but it would be just for you to see how the actual light and the actual behavior of the effect would work with something in movement. And then I've put a light in my scene, and I apply the material to my cube. Okay, so I place some lights in here, and I apply the material, send the material with the function shader. That's it. And then I rendered through a scanline render. So at this point, I have just I don't have anything, because I don't have any texture yet, but I have my alpha of my cube at a certain point on my movement. Okay, I'm just going to go back to the first frame, and then this is when I start injecting the color. So what I did was I picked up a constant, and I've projected in 2 ways. I projected to the front of my through the front part of my sphere, of my cube, with the project 3D set to front, and I'm applying that through an apply material. So this will be my front. Oh, come on. What's going on here? Is this working? I was on my alpha channel. All right. For some reason I cannot see here, probably because this is the front and this is the back. Yeah. So here I have the back, and you'll be able to do that as long as you have an alpha on your constant, otherwise you won't be able to have that. Okay, this is actually what makes it. And then you minus the front by the actual part that is behind the cube, and you'll have, by doing this, you'll have what we can describe as the thickness of your geometry, and then that thickness can be blurred, so you'll have something like this, and this is actually already the effect. You can see that this is already the effect. And then what I did extra was I've put, this is actually something that is not really readable on the render, but this is actually something that is moving inside, that it's dynamic like that, and I just did that with a prop geo. Okay, it's just a cube like moving randomly like that, and this is then blurred, so you'll have some movement inside. This was just to prove the point that you can have something moving inside, and then you'll be able to place this inside that thickness, and you can arguably put this just on the inside on this part here. Okay, and then you blur them. I think I've tried both ways. I end up using this one, and then I'm just creating some fake anamorphic kind of glows, some chroma aberration after, which would be the fake refraction after the cube, and then I'm putting that back to my original cube, which was this one. So this was my solution. Very simple, as you can see. It was we'll be able, anyone of any level knows, I believe. Well, if you're just starting out, of course there's a lot of things that you don't know, but these things from the majority of you all know these kind of solutions. So this was my solution. All right, this is how I did it, and this is Mauricio's approach to it, which is very similar as well, because you have a projection that is being back and projected on front, so you'll be able to separate what's behind and what's in front of our sphere, like that. So this is behind and this is in front, and this would be then it placed a actual light inside, that because he is using a constant that is attributing a shader to it, the lights will have already an automatic interaction with the actual geo. So I believe I can put it here. So you see, so this is already interacting automatically with the walls of our cube. And then this is just changing the color, and then this is just adding some beauty overall to it, as I just mentioned on my solution as well. So pretty similar to what I did, right, Mauricio?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
it was pretty similar.
Maybe I took a shortcut here and there, but it's mainly the same thing.
Mainly the same thing. Mainly the same thing. So we didn't prove this time, at least this time, that there's many ways of achieving the same effect. We end up using the same approach. But the reality is that a lot of times, well, for the same effect, people use completely different things. There will be a time in which we'll be able to prove that this is the case, but not at the moment. But we end up basically...
have any other tool to have like backface culling inside Nuke, so
no.
I mean, we only have 3D, project 3D, so...
Yeah, exactly. But I mean... kind
of limited.
Yeah, but you mentioned before we start the live that you had to think about, even though all of these nodes and all of these techniques we all know, but you had to think about a little bit outside the box and how to come up with the effect. And that was actually my intention, is to, for, you know, out of something that looks probably impossible to do in Nuke, because it's something that we don't do every day. We normally expect these kind of effects to come from an effects department, for example. You have to think a little bit outside the box with the very simple terms to come up with something like that. So thank you and congratulations once again for coming up with this. So as I was saying, we never met before, even though there's some points in common actually that we're going to talk about. That I was really surprised. So because we don't met before, you know, from my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have common friends. We never worked with each other, so I had to go on a little bit on I had to do some investigation, really. Don't worry, don't worry. Okay, don't worry.
Who is this guy?
Don't worry. No, because the majority of the times I know either the person, at least so far, or I know a little bit of what the person did. But because and this is very unusual, we don't have, at least to my knowledge, we don't have any common friends, which is really unusual in VFX, at least that we know. I'm sure that if we start to dig a little bit of some names, we will encounter a lot of people, but to my knowledge, at least for now, until now, we don't have any. So I had to go on the hard path of investigating you a little bit. So as I said in the beginning, you're a Brazilian guy, and you just mentioned you're working in Germany in VFX, and like so many other people, me included, your background is actually not in this field. It's in a different field. It's in design, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you wanna graduated in? Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just jumped.
No, I was no. Because go ahead. Because I was about to ask you exactly that. If you want to expand on your early days and early days as coming from a different background, basically.
Yeah, totally. I mean, for me, we always use it to hear people saying, when I was a kid, I was always drawing and stuff, and my father was doing maybe this or that, or I had contact with art before. For me, it was a little bit different because me and my brother, we were very much into sports. So for mostly our teenage years, we were athletes. We played basketball for real. And then only when I was like 17, we had to decide either pursue this career as a basketball player or go to study something else. And my brother, Ricardo, he actually enrolled before in graphic design, and he started before me in university. And then I was a little bit late to go into the university, but that came to me as, this is cool. But I actually enrolled in product design, so was not exactly related. And it was not until I was on my third year that I really got into the visualization tools to do the products that we were studying. And then I said, 3D, this is cool. This is something that I may actually do for a long time, actually. And then I started pursuing more of that knowledge. So actually I started as a product designer, and then 3D came as a tool for me to do the visualization of the stuff that we were developing at uni. And actually I was a 3D artist from the beginning. So I spent like maybe 5 years as a 3D artist until I actually jumped into compositing. So for me, was this path. I studied product design, and then during university, I had this opportunity to do an exchange program because of design, of course. And then I chose to come to Germany. So that's the main reason I'm back to Germany again. I had this previous experience in 2007. I came for a 6-month exchange program, and I really fell in love by the country, by the people.
Where are you from? In Brazil, where are you from?
From a city in the south called Curitiba.
Curitiba,
so it's in the south of Brazil.
Never been. I've never been to Brazil, and in any city. I've never been to the country, but I know the name.
It's not a good time now to go, but. Yeah. So then I came to Germany. I had the opportunity to do an internship in a 3D company to doing product visualization back then. So I spent 6 months doing that. And when I went back to Brazil, I already had this background. I say, okay, so you know what? Just before totally deviating from product design itself and going to 3D and visualization and architecture or whatever, I decided to actually give it a try to see if I would like to do product design, and then I hate it. I hate it completely because it was too.
But what type? Sorry to interrupt you, but what type of product design? Because product design, it's a word or a curse, if you want, that can represent many different things. Many things. From what you're saying to me, that reminds me very much of my my wife's journey as well, because, and I already mentioned this here, she was also a product designer like you. So it's a very similar story,
cool.
very similar story. And then she was using 3D as a tool for visual for the visualization of the projects that she or somebody else would design. And then at that time we were already together, and we decided to come to London for her at that time to pursue that kind of career as well. And then the short version of the story is she got in VFX because here in London there's a big industry about VFX, of course. And then she didn't like it, and then she got out and I got in. That's exactly how it happened. The more complete version of the story, it's on the interview that I recently did with Ben McEwen in his newsletter. But that reminds me a little bit of her journey on that thing, not the part in which, you know, she is now doing something different, but because you're not doing something different, you are actually continuing VFX. But the fact that you both had the same background, and from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, the background or the way that you are describing product design is actually designing products that people use every day, whether it's like a cup or a glass or a chair, or is it like that, or is it something different?
Exactly. No, it's exactly like that. Okay. I mean, when you are at university, of course, you can pursue different fields, whatever you want. I had friends that went to work at Volkswagen, and I had friends that now work at Adidas and stuff. So for me, it was, okay, I'm not that skilled in drawing. I can draw, of course, I can represent stuff, but it's not exactly, so I can do better stuff in 3D. So I found a job in Curitiba where I could prototype stuff and do the visualization to sell something to the client.
To the client, yeah.
We were doing like mostly packaging for whatever, for perfume, and then at some point we were doing like computer cases. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still think it's cool. I mean, it was just not for me. So
exactly, yeah.
It was just a try. So when I came back from Germany, I went back to Brazil. I said, okay, I will try this and see if it's up to me or not, because I really love this 3D thing, and I want to pursue something in that. Of course, there was a couple of companies in Curitiba that I wanted to work in.
For VFX, so or for product design, you mean?
No, for VFX already.
Okay.
So before jumping directly into that and never looking back to product design, I said, okay, I will try this at least and see what I think. And then this 6 months for me was, okay, this is not for me. I don't want to do this. And then I jumped directly to this company doing VFX for advertising. Everybody would start, I guess, in Brazil. I mean, we have an anime industry that it's growing. I mean, there's a lot of good people doing stuff there. A lot of good people actually left Brazil already, but still, I think advertising-wise, we are very well known of doing good stuff, and then we have amazing companies doing that in Brazil. So then I started on that, and then as a 3D artist, I spent like 5 years doing it actually, and then eventually, instead of only delivering my renderings to somebody else, I started doing a little bit of After Effects and compositing them. And I said, oh, this is cool. And then it's faster, actually, because...
Don't say that too often, because people will jump on you straight away, man. I know that. I know that.
I mean, everybody gets the point, right? I mean,
yeah, I know. I'm kidding. Of course, yeah.
And come on, back in 2007, 2008, we didn't have the GPU that we have today, so we weren't that fast. So it was CPU based. So it's.
And I'm just kidding. And at the end of the day, you know, After Effects is just another tool. You know, it serves different purposes, but it's just a tool. You know, like as Nuke
I think it's the beginning for everybody. I mean, in the smaller studios, they don't have the money to buy it. Come on, back in 2007, I think Nuke was like version 5 or 6. So I didn't knew exactly what's Nuke, what's that about. So then I started migrating this in this period, and then at some point the company hired me to go to another state. Actually, then I went down south to Porto Alegre, and there I became a real-time compositor. So they said, okay, so it looks like you have this this eye to put stuff together. We have 3D people here. Don't get me wrong; they are better than you. but I think we can get better output of you doing compositing. And then that was my introduction to Nuke and all that.
All right, cool. Kind of.
And then
you went to between two continents in order for you to be able to do what you do today. You see, it's not easy. It's not easy. Two continents takes a lot of effort. So for those of you that are starting out, you see, sometimes that's what you have to do, and it's completely unexpected. You didn't expect that you would be doing this when you first came to Germany, I'm sure. But life took you that way, you know. Same happened to me, really. But you just mentioned something about like, well, you just told the story about like how was your journey from, you know, coming from a product design background and now ending up working in VFX. And the question that I have for you is, what are the similarities that you find and the biggest differences between the two jobs? Because you just mentioned some of the similarities, and actually it was that similarity that took you to where you are today, because you wanted to do something, well, it was a more 3D kind of a situation at that time, because probably you were doing modeling and stuff like that and texturing, because you're doing the products, right, the visualization. But so there's that that point in common. But do you want to expand more on these similarities and differences that you find, and how this helped you, these differences or similarities helped you to shape who you are today as a VFX professional?
Totally. I think easier is to say about the similarities and how product design helps me in the stuff I do. I think it's more regarding the pragmatic step and the way you achieve something. I mean, when you are designing something, you have a specific process that you go. So you try something, you iterate, and then you go back, and then you try something else, and then you iterate, and then you go back. So this kind of cycles that we do in design, and the way that you think and the way that you structure the stuff, it's totally a bonus for me, because every time I see something that I know exactly how to solve, I just start dividing the problem in smaller parts, and then I go step by step how I would do in the product design. I mean, you have the prep phase where you design something and you think about it, and then you go there and you do it, and then that doesn't work out as well as you once thought, and then you go there again. And so this is, I would say, this is the easiest part to correlate, actually. And actually, what can I say about the difference? I think the difference is it's much more like product design. It takes a time for you to see what you are coming up with. I mean, there's a long time between development and actually going out to market when you design something. And then I think that this is something that advertising brought to me. It was very fast. So it's fast pace. You do something today, and then tomorrow you talk about it, and then maybe in 1 week, 2 weeks, the project is done. So for me, it always went cycled in this small projects. Even when I came to Germany, in Germany is different the way that the university was designed to teach students. We were separating projects. We would have like short-term projects, mid-term projects, and long-term. And I just hated all the long terms because they would take so much time for me. I want to stay in the same thing for 3 months, 4 months. So I think that's what this difference of being the time frame where you have to do something was, okay, I cannot handle. I cannot design something today and just wait like 2 years to see that on the market.
Well, 2 years, it's a long time, of course, but and this will tie in with my next question, because I was about to say that I understand your point totally, but sometimes when you work in film, you know, some of these post-productions, they take a long time as well. And yes, sometimes it's a bit tedious because you don't see, you know, things moving, but they will move eventually. Unfortunately, most of the times they move right at just a little bit before the end date. That's when the actual train, the whole train starts moving, like to, you know, in a pace that you would like that to happen a little bit before. But you have that also in a film environment. You don't have as much in a commercials environment, which is much faster. And I believe that's more what MacVision does, right?
This is the thing I want to get in there. So I did advertising for a long time. It was maybe from 2007 until 16, so almost 9 to 10 years in advertising, and that's where I got this white beard and stuff. And then you guys, and you start to age a little bit faster than you would like. And then I was thinking, okay, what should I pursue now? I mean, advertising is cool. I like the fast pace, but perhaps there's something else out there that I can do that is more friendly. And I think what the more you get older, at least it was for me, of course, the point that I was getting older and then more used to all this stuff, I was, okay, it's not a sprint anymore. It's like more like a marathon. So I don't need to run that fast anymore. And then I start to try to find my way into entertainment. And to be honest, of course, today at Machivision, we do some advertising as well, but this is, I would say, 10% of what we do. We mostly do episodics and feature films.
Right.
And then actually nowadays, I really enjoy the mid-sized projects. I think something between like 3 to 4 or 5 months. I think this is cool because you have time to develop something.
It's something in the middle, in the middle, right? You don't have like the so fast pace as you have in commercials, which
exactly.
which a lot of times makes you wonder, like. Because you don't have time to refine things, necessarily speaking, most of the time, because it's so fast, right? And it's kind of a letdown sometimes. Like, you don't want to deliver things like this, but the time has run out, so you have to deliver. That's it. So exactly, I get what you're saying. So the episodic, it's like TV. It's like the midterm in terms of like being fast paced, but with especially these days, there's no difference. In the great majority of the times, there's almost no difference between film and episodics these days, because the technology helps on that front as well, and it's really on demand as well. People, love seeing episodes all the time, and series and even movies that has the same kind of medium, which is Netflix and things like this. So I understand what you're saying. I've done a little bit of everything. My preferred medium, I have to say, it's film still, even though sometimes it's a bit of yeah, come on, man, we need to, you know what I mean? Let's get on with this. But for me, it's more about the end result, and a lot of times I like also to explore the solutions, but without a doubt that sometimes it's a bit too much in terms of like the waiting time and all that stuff. And we're all humans. We like to see things, develop and all that stuff. So I totally get your point. But I didn't know that Machivision was so involved. This is my bad, of course. Was so involved in episodics. I think it was actually more towards the commercial side of things. But yeah,
we have. Yeah, I mean, we have a mixture of stuff. We do. The point is that I'm in the VFX department, so we mainly do VFX stuff. So of course we have other units in Hamburg, or they do advertising a lot as well. And sometimes it comes to us to help on that as well and do some stuff. And then when we call it like more high-end advertising, we love to jump into stuff. So this is something that we really like. And I mean, it's not their fault. I mean, come on, let's face it. I mean, we're not that big. We are not like.
But Machivision is a player that everybody knows. It was my bad because
definitely
that was what
the fact that
was.
People sometimes doesn't know exactly how much we do, but it's fine. I think it's a good size company.
Yeah, but actually, that I just remember that we might have actually a common friend that. Is still working for the same company, or he just came from there, and he's a Portuguese guy called David Dias, if I'm not mistaken.
Opa, of course.
I don't know him that well, but I've met him. I've met him, and my brother also knows him. Yeah,
he was with us until last year. Yeah, he came to help a lot on stage and other stuff. So
yeah,
it was very cool.
So you see, we do have a common friend. You see, industry is really small.
I think if we dig more, we probably have.
We probably would have more. For sure. Because I know I have some Brazilian friends here in London. It's been a while last time I've been with them, to be honest. But actually, one of them might be a feature guest on the show. So watch this space. But yeah, it's been a while. But maybe they're common friends as well. Who knows? Who knows? All right. So what else do I have here? To actually, there was a question from the public. From our viewers. Hi there. What do you think about virtual sets? As a compositor, will we survive in the near future? Do you want to answer that? This is a question from Noyan Batman. Wow, what a surname! That's the coolest surname ever, Batman. Right?
Well, my take on that is, of course, we're going to survive. I mean, virtual sets are there to help, but they're definitely not 100% the solution for what we do. I think that what's going to change perhaps a little bit is the more and more we see Unreal doing amazing stuff with so little time. And then this is thing that really interests me a lot. But other than that, to be honest, I don't think as long as you have a plate, someone is in front of the camera, you need to do something in VFX.
My take would be exactly the same. Actually, my bad. It's not Batman. It's Byman. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was so small. Because in my screen here, it's really small. And the color didn't help the fact that it's colored red. I'm so sorry. But yeah, my take on the same subject will be the same. Of course, that helps a lot with lighting and all that stuff to integrate things much more immediately. So that would save, if anything, a lot of time. But now, at the same time, that would have to be counterbalanced with the costs of production to have something like that. With virtual sets. Exactly. So of course the more the years will progress, the lower the cost will be, as usual in any technology. So that will be the case as well. And of course that will be something that will be here to stay, and there will be a reality for, I wouldn't say all the productions, but maybe the great majority of the big productions. This is already starting to happen, and I think it's going to be something that is going to be a reality for sure. In the same way that machine learning and all that deep learning thing will be also something that will help us, but it's not going to take away jobs. If anything, it will create different jobs and potentially more jobs. Because this is something that will open other doors as well. So people shouldn't be frightened by the fact that technology is advancing. It's always a good thing. It's always a good thing. All right. So is there anyone with more questions for our guest? If not, you know what's coming, right? You know what's coming. Yeah. So let's play Note Fight right now. Mauricio is okay with it, so we said, yeah, listen, people will probably ask for it anyway, but it's up to you. And Mauricio said, yes, I'll take the challenge. So let's do it right now. All right, let's open the segment Note Fight. Okay, fine. All right. So, ready?
Yeah.
Reflections.
It's 3D ray render.
All right. Color matching.
Great. Always.
All right. Defocus.
Defocus. That's tricky, I guess. You mean when you have like that effect where you have the first planing in focus and
your favorite defocus? Your favorite defocus?
Defocus. I heard defocus.
No. Defocus. Defocus.
Well, most of the times optical. How is it? Optical Z defocus. This tool where you have this more refined. Yeah, I hate DGBK. It takes too much time to render.
I'm with you on that.
I mean.
I'm with you on
great,
that.
But it takes forever.
Yeah. It takes forever, right? All right. Yeah. Iridescence.
Oh, this is cool. Actually, I learned a trick from a guy from Trickster actually, and then I would do a color space operation, and I use a lighting pad to take that in the color space operation. You come up with a solid, and then you come up with HSL, HSP, and then you just compare. I think it's
cool. I think the guy that you're referring to is Julius.
Exactly, Julius. He had this training, which is amazing, and then
I actually met him last week for a brief chat, and this proves my point that yes, there's people reading your stuff, Julius, because it's good to know that some people are reading, and I said no, it's actually they're reading. So another proof of that. All right, so let's move on. Favorite gear.
For soft edges, IBK, and for format, just Keylight, or even Keylight for soft edges. So I love IBK and Keylight.
Okay. Favorite despiller?
I think the Steel Madness and perhaps the Steel to Color, and it's also very good. I like them. Yeah.
Okay. Two more?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Refraction.
Ooh, refraction. If I have the 3D, I would just take the normals and then come up with some ID stars, so you could do that. Otherwise, I would need to think a little bit more. If you don't have only play solution, then nothing needs to happen. But CC clad or something like this would be the trick.
Cool. Last one. Rain or snow removal?
Oh, this is cool actually. I would stabilize the plate if possible, and then this is another trick I learned on FX HD Lost. You stabilize the plate, and then you do an invert, and then use a time offset, time blend actually, a frame blend, and then you just not frame blend. What was that actually? One of these guys that you don't have the mean.
Time echo.
Time echo, exactly, and then you do that, and then you just sandwich the time echo in between, and then you have it.
Yeah, it's over, man. You see, it was easy. It was easy. You did great. You did great. You did great, man. It was easy. But yeah, shout out to Julius once again. It would be great to have him on the show one of these days. Why not? But yeah, that technique that Mauricio was talking about is from I don't even dare to pronounce his last name because I'm gonna get it wrong. But if you put, I'm pretty sure if you put Julius and iridescence in Google and something like VFX or something, you'll be able to find his name. So thank you once again, Julius, and thank you once again, Mauricio, as well. For playing along, and you did great. You see, it was easy. It was easy.
It's a little bit easier to watch, to play, but it's
yes, I'm sure. Well, it's very easy for me because I'm the one calling the cards. You know what I mean? Calling the shots.
Exactly.
For me, it's really easy. No, but in all seriousness, again, there's no right or wrong answers here. It's more about for people to know that there's many different ways, and to give people some different ways of achieving, you know, some of these effects that we sometimes have to fake. Because a lot of times, what we do in compositing, if there's any people from 3D or that would like to go into this world, a lot of times what compositing do is all about faking stuff. As long as it looks like the real thing, that's all we care about. But science helps. Science helps. Knowing a little bit of science helps for sure. Actually, that brings me to the point that on our Discord channel, if you're not on our Discord channel, you should, because some of the communications sometimes I only do that. So please join our Discord channel. You can interact with the bot to know how to join the Discord channel, and it's also on the comments on the actual session, so you can grab the actual link to join. But that brings me to the point that knowing a little bit of science and a little bit of math goes a long way. And there's actually something that one of our viewers put on our Discord channel, because apparently, according to him, he got inspired by our conversation between me and Mas regarding, at that time it was linear transformations and linear algebra overall, and he did something very cool looking. So yes, we fake things, but science and maths help. That's what I can say. So once again, thank you, Mauricio, and thank you everyone for participating on the show. Thanks once again for everyone who contributed to the challenge this week. Some of you were already guests on the show, so I wouldn't bring the same people, obviously, but we'll try to bring the others at some other point. And yes, so our moderator just put the Julie's blog in which you can find the technique that we just talked about. Thank you, Sabine. What else? What are other things that people are saying? So nice work, nice round. You see, people liked it. Fake it until you make it. There you go. I like that. That's a good one. Lion Patchy. All right, cool. Listen, we're gonna wrap up now. Thank you once again, Mauricio. Nice to meet you finally. Mauricio was actually one of our first supporters of the show. Very early on, he sent me a message saying that it was actually really fun. And actually, you mentioned the segment that we just did. So you see, after a few months, you were the one doing it. That was cool. Yeah. Yeah, nice chatting with you. Nice to meet you and to know a little bit of your story as well. We'll see who's our next guest next week. I'll be announcing that soon at some point. It's always a surprise. We know that, so I'm not going to reveal. I will never reveal my guests, but it's going to happen, and I'll be posting that soon. So, bye bye everyone. Take care and enjoy your weekend. Bye bye, Mauricio. Nice to meet you, man. Please stay on, yeah? Yeah, all right. Bye bye.